By now, I've spent quite a lot of time exploring in Elden Ring. The game never ceases to surprise me. Every time I go back to an area I've already visited, there's a new cave to find, there's an enemy that I never fought before, and I'm pretty sure I'm missing like 50% of a game so far. But it's that same feeling of learning something new every time I boot up the game that's kept me coming back hour after hour, time after time, day after day, and boss after boss. But recently, a friend of mine told me about something in Elden Ring that absolutely blew my mind. A shortcut that allows you to get to Volcano Manor way earlier than you'd otherwise be able to. So after going through the steps, it absolutely worked. And so big thanks to Brozime for working with me on this one. He's a really cool dude, member of Maxwell, currently doing some Elden Ring stuff for us, and you should absolutely check him out after this. But for now, let's get into that Volcano Manor shortcut, because you might want a Magma Blade or the Royal Knight's Resolve. So I'm not sure if this really needs to be said at this point or not, but if you're doing the skip as soon as you unlock it, yes, the enemies in Volcano Manor will be extremely dangerous and high level relative to what you've been facing. Doesn't mean you can't kill them, they are mortal just like everything else in the game. Technically, if you're good enough, you can beat every boss at level 1 with an unupgraded weapon. With that said, expect them to hit harder than you're used to and be way tankier. So, before you can do the shortcut proper, you need to unlock access to Raya Lucaria Academy. Fun fact, if you're trying to progress through the story, you have to do this anyway, so it's absolutely on your way. Start by collecting the Academy Glintstone key map location, found on a corpse, to the left of a sealed South Raya Lucaria gate. There's a few ways to get here, one of which is a teleporter elsewhere in Liurnia, the other which is just walking up through the town, killing enemies as you find them. Either way, consider this to be your starting point for executing the shortcut. Oh, and before you go, do be sure to grab the Site of Grace because you'll need to come back here later after obtaining the key. Next up we have the map. It shows an island, some ruins, Raya Lucaria Academy to the right, and this corresponds to a small island found in the northwest portion of Liurnia of the Lakes, a little above the Rose Cathedral. And don't worry, in true Elden Ring fashion, there's a really fun surprise there. By that I mean, as you approach the island, a form looms out of a mist. So if you're going to get the key, you need to rush past Glintstone Dragon Smaragd. Personally, I found the best way to do this was simply stay mounted, run past the giant angry dragon, grab the key, and after that, you can either A, run away, or B, just die, you'll return to the Site of Grace, and teleport back to South Raya Lucaria Gate. Now that you have the key, unlock the gate, and proceed into Raya Lucaria Academy. After this, head left and take the lift up into the Academy proper. Enter the church and go through the large double doors, then keep left to activate your Site of Grace. This is another respawn point that you'll absolutely need. Now, if you have a bunch of runes, what you should do is immediately spend them, because the next step involves dying. Don't worry, you could explore more of Raya Lucaria, or go elsewhere, and always return to the Church of the Cuckoo Site of Grace. But when you're prepared to die, head down the corridor and take a left into the graveyard. Hold B on your controller to sprint past the magic putrid corpses and dogs. Cross the bridge, refreshing your sprint if you need to, and head right towards the doorway, which is guarded by a dog and a magic putrid corpse. Those are the weird twisted zombie dudes. Now, you can either defeat both of them, which might be rather challenging as you're probably trailing a bunch of enemies at this point, or stick to the very left side of the doorway and slip past the zombie. After exiting the graveyard back into the main building, you'll need to kill any dogs which follow you into the area. I did this a couple times to try it. Sometimes one dog followed, sometimes multiple did. Either way, they're not too big of a threat. Next, walk down the corridor and keep an eye out for a large water wheel to your right. Jump onto the wheel's paddle and use it as a platform to get to the ledge above. Now, as the wheel reaches its peak, jump off the paddle onto the ledge. Ahead of you, you should see a couple of commoners. This is the path back into Raya Lucaria Academy. Ignore them. For now, your mission is to the right. So head down the narrow ledge towards a lone enemy carrying a torch. Since you're here, you'll probably want to defeat him just to keep him from ambushing you, but you're not going to hold on to those runes for long. Next, jump onto another paddle made by the spokes of a wheel, this time heading down. Stand near the edge to minimize the fall damage you take, as the wheel's going to drop you into a crystal cavern with a monster type known as an Abductor Virgin. This monster is essentially a gigantic Iron Maiden with saw blades for arms. And here's where things get a little bit tricky, because the Abductor Virgin either A, will use sweeping strikes with her saw blade arms to try to slice you apart, or she'll open up to reveal some tentacles and try to eat you. What you have to do now is allow her to kill you by eating you. This move hits quite hard, and it should kill you easily provided your health's low, but you need to die to her eating you and not to the saw blades. That's a very important step here, because after you die to being eaten, congratulations, you're in Volcano Manor. And when you spawn, you'll find yourself on the edge. Because you're brought here by a hostile teleportation effect, you can't leave until you rest at a site of grace. So from here you have two options. The first is get down and explore Volcano Manor proper. The second is seek the nearest site of grace to escape. I'll go over exploring Volcano Manor first. To do this, you need to find the area where there's a small notch cut out of a cliff face. Carefully walk onto this notch, and simply keep going until you inevitably fall directly into the lava. If you do it right, you'll take very little to no damage at all from falling. If you try to just jump down from any other location, you'll take a massive amount of damage and fall to your death. They positioned the cliff just high enough to be lethal, and because they positioned it just high enough to be lethal, this little area that allows you to fall from a lower elevation, in fact, makes it almost perfectly safe. From there, you have several areas to explore. And eventually, if you keep following the path, you'll find Volcano Manor proper. Just remember, should you die, you'll be taken back up to the top of the cliff, and you'll have to fall back into the lava. But alternatively, maybe you're not ready to explore Volcano Manor yet. Maybe you did the skip, it's pretty cool, and you want to escape and come back here later by executing the skip again. If that's the case, you'll need to escape using the Site of Grace in the Subterranean Inquisition Chamber. So, start by going to the right and defeating the giant bats. Then continue following the River of Lava. Keep following the River of Lava, jumping down as necessary. You can kill lava slugs on the way, or simply run past. While they will sometimes spit at you, they aren't honestly a very big threat and can be safely ignored, especially because they move extremely slowly. Also, position yourself carefully and try to avoid falling into the lava. It won't kill you instantly, but it definitely does slow you down. From there, after completing a second series of jumps, you enter Volcano Manor proper. There's two enemies guarding the Site of Grace for the Subterranean Inquisition Chamber. One right as you jump down, and then one on the stairs above. Defeat them, activate it, and rest. Now you're free to go back to Raya Lucaria Academy or continue exploring the world. You can always execute the skip again to return to Volcano Manor. Remember, there's many valuable items to find here, but this is often the 5th, 6th, or 7th zone players explore, so it is quite late game compared to Liurnia of the Lakes, which is usually the 2nd zone players explore. Again, with this increase in difficulty, means there's all sorts of goodies to find. Just watch your back because you could be in for some very tough fights ahead. Now I know that was quite a few instructions, so feel free to use the timestamps to jump back into the video, or if you prefer reading to watching, head over to MaxrollGG where you'll find a nice list with pictures of all these steps as well. Again, a big thanks to Brosian for telling me about this shortcut and working with me to make sure everything's correct. If you're looking for something else to watch, I'll have his channel linked down below. He does a lot of Warframe content on YouTube, but over on Twitch he plays lots of variety, including plenty of Elden Ring. Now with that said, before I go, I'd like to take a minute to thank my patrons and channel members for the continued support. For as low as $1 a month, you can make videos just like this one possible. Link to support is down below. And of course, a big thanks to everyone who watched to the end. I'm glad you found this video helpful. Good luck in your Volcano Manor farming. Hopefully you don't get burned too many times. Be sure to get subscribed for more Elden Ring content, and of course, I'll see you in the next one.